need me. Tell me this time you won't let me down, baby. Baby, 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 baby. I can't go through no more pain. Go through no more. Tell me you love me. Tell me that you'll stick around. Tell me you need me. Tell me this time you won't let me down, baby. Baby, 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 baby. I can't go through no more pain.
Desire,
Go
beat.
through no more.
Desire, beat.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
My type of intro. My type of intro. My type of intro. Burn Live, y'all. Marijuana keeping y'all connected. Hashtagging these red eyes, changing the viewers' irate, keeping underage, smoking off social media, killing ourselves for your entertainment. Sitting here with friends and family, starting a cannabis, starting a cannabis station. Starting a cannabisation, you know what I'm saying? Sitting with friends and families, talking about things that matters to us on both sides of the party, left or right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever time you're watching this. I'm glad people tag along whenever time that you're watching this. I appreciate it. I go live once a day. We talk about news and discovery and politics and things that go on in America and sometimes the world. What's up? How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a show. Hope everybody having a good time. Hope you got things done constructively. Hope you got everything done. I've been working on my setup, my place and everything, and I still got wires all over the place, really. Still getting my setup together, as you see. I just seen that big ass wire. I'm like, man, really that wire right there? Obviously, I can't move it. But how y'all been doing? Once again, I know it's like my third one time saying. Hope everybody okay. Hope you got your blunts, your weeds, your joints, your bongs, anything ish to get high, to smoke, to be relaxed. I feel like y'all should be relaxed when you're watching this show, because sometimes things that I might play may stress you out. Um, that is true. I do believe things that I do watch can stress some people out. I don't try to stress people out. I just try to bring you out the truth or the facts. I am trying to paint a picture, let you know that the war is coming. We just sitting back and we're watching it happen. I'm trying to prevent it, so I'm trying to show you ahead of time that this is coming. These are the things that you need to be looking for. A lot of people are playing their parts and playing their roles. Joe Biden's son, Joe Biden, the Biden family, the crime syndicate family is still under investigation. Another important story that's going on: Israel is under attack for politician things that's going on with their um, diplomatic hearings of things are not getting done. We got candidates running for president that's trying to speak up. They're still trying to indict Joe Biden. It's so much running today. I don't know where to start. But I feel the best ways to start. It's always going to be the best way to start is starting with the biggest news of. Like I say, I really don't cover this because I feel like nothing going to happen. But
Honor joining us now.
it's still a
The
big
best
news.
investigative reporter on all these stories, the number one best investigative reporter. We have Miranda Devine, New York Post columnist, Fox News contributor, and author of Laptop from Hell. Miranda, great pleasure to have you back on the show. So let's get this one right. Hunter Biden's best friend is going to be testifying pretty soon before the Oversight Committee. And he is going to spill the beans on all these phone calls that were taking place where Joe Biden made himself available at a moment's notice. Please tell us more, Miranda Devine.
My notes.
Thanks, Larry. Yes, we've just breaking news that Devon Archer, who was Hunter Biden's former best friend in business, they've now nailed down a date for him to testify before the Oversight Committee. It's been a bit of a movable feast. It was supposed to be today, then it was going to be Thursday. Now they've finally agreed with Devon Archer's lawyer that it will be Monday, July 31st, when he will come in for a transcribed interview behind closed doors with the Oversight Committee. And Devon Archer, remember, was convicted over that $60 million bond fraud with Burnham, that company that he and Hunter Biden were involved with. The Southern District of New York decided that Devon Archer was involved, but Hunter wasn't. So Devon Archer is off to jail very shortly. So he's getting in this testimony before he does, because basically he has nothing to lose. He's agreed to cooperate because he wants the truth to be out there. And the truth, as he will tell it, I believe, is that he's going to talk about all these meetings that he witnessed that Hunter Biden organized for his father, then the vice president, Joe Biden, to meet with his overseas business partners. And there's up to a dozen of these speakerphone calls where Hunter Biden would be meeting with these overseas benefactors or trying to close a deal or trying to demonstrate his worth. And he would just pull out his phone, dial his father, slap it on the table, put him on speakerphone, and introduce his father to the people around the table. And in one specific,
No, I was just going to add.
One specific.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say that I talk about one specific call in December of 2015 after a Burisma board meeting. That's the corrupt energy company that was paying Hunter $83,000 a month to sit on the board. They had a board meeting in Dubai, and afterwards, right, Hunter and Devon Archer went off to another bar to have a drink, and they were contacted urgently by the Burisma owner and his right-hand man. Where are you? We need to talk to your dad. They came along and Hunter put his dad on speakerphone again. And that was right before Joe Biden went to Ukraine and demanded that the prosecutor who was investigating Burisma be fired. And lo and behold, a couple of months later, he was.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm glad. I was just going to ask you to highlight the Dubai call. I mean, I guess they went to a local bar and just dialed up. Now, Joe Biden, let's be clear. Joe Biden was vice president at the time, point number one.
Yep.
And point number two, Miranda, as you have reported so much, Joe Biden keeps saying, all right, first, I didn't know anything about my son's business. Then it kind of changed a little bit. I was never involved in my son's business. When I hear these phone calls, I mean, there may have been dozens of phone calls. The head of Burisma has text messages as well as phone calls because Joe Biden apparently coerced him into a $5 million payment. I mean, Joe Biden was up to his eyeballs in this. In fact, you could almost argue, and that's my question, was Joe Biden the guy who really was running all this family, some people call it the family crime syndicate operations. Hunter was his vehicle, but Joe was the chairman of the board.
Well, Joe was called the chairman at times by Hunter Biden's former business partners, also called the big guy. Sure, I mean, this was Joe Biden's influence peddling operation, which he'd been running since his earliest days as a 30-year-old senator in this very peculiar small state of Delaware, where he basically controls everything and everybody, and where a lot of corporations have their headquarters for just peculiar reasons. And therefore there's a lot of money sloshing around for politicians who wield an enormous amount of power, and that would be Joe Biden. And remember, it's pretty clear what Burisma was paying Hunter Biden for when you look at the fact that
all this smoking gun, the same type of smoking gun they had with Trump, the same type of allegations that they had with Trump, the same steps that they taken with Trump, they should be taking with Joe Biden. Yet again, I said this yesterday, and I'm going to keep saying it as long as we keep talking about the Joe Biden case and they keep bringing it up. They're not going to indict him till after he get off of office. They're going to wait till after then to indict him. Then he's going to get pressed with all these weird-ass charges. And then, I'm telling you, they're waiting for the blockbuster movie to come out. They're going to put it out there. There's going to be a Die Hard 4, Die Hard 5, whatever Die Hard movie that needs to come out next. Bruce Willis, Kevin Hart, Dwayne Johnson. We already putting in the script and writing the script because this right here is Hollywood. You couldn't put together a better script of this happening. That's why y'all not seeing nothing happen. That's why we're not going to see anything happen until after he get out of the house. Oh yeah, the FBI gonna go down too with him too. So don't get it twisted. It's gonna be a big family affair. It's really gonna go down. It's gonna be one of the most disgusting things you ever see. Democrats are gonna be crying, but we're gonna see this for the next 12 months until the new election. This story is gonna keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. I'm just letting you know.
That a couple of months after Joe Biden was out of office, ceased being vice president, Hunter Biden's $83,000 a month stipend from Burisma was cut in half.
Yes, right. It's just terrible. Father, no, I get that. If this guy, whatever his name is, Devin, whatever his name is, if he testifies, okay, this is firsthand information. This isn't hearsay. This isn't second and third hand. I mean, what's that do to the case? That's going to break the case wide open. I mean, we heard last week from the FBI reports that were let out by Chuck Grassley that Joe Biden was the guy coercing Burisma, not the other way around. $5 million for him and his son. But now, if this Devin guy comes in, what does that do? It breaks open everything. It'll be an incredible blockbuster. What are they going to say about that?
Well, yes, Devon Archer, it will not just be testifying about those up to 24 speakerphone calls. He also was present at 2 dinners at Cafe Milano, which is an Italian restaurant in Georgetown,
my favorite,
in a private room, where Hunter Biden invited his father along to meet his overseas business partners. Now, I've written extensively about one of those in April of 2015, which is catalogued pretty heavily on the laptop. And at that dinner that Joe Biden attended,
that's going to be the intro to the movie. We're going to be driving down New York City. You're going to see a taxi cab. You're going to see a guy in it. It's going to start off all about a laptop. If you see any movie that come out next year about a laptop, you know it's a Hunter Biden case. Also, the Clintons have been through this too. They made a They made a TV series about it. I said, and I told people, this is, I think, the second episode that I put this out here. Anybody out there that knows the TV show that got put out about the Clintons, if you know the name of that and you put it down in the comments, you can win a speaker. I promise you, you can win a speaker. I got them right over here off in the cut. I'm going to find some way to put them up on display. I already owe one person a speaker. Mrs. Justice, I still owe you a speaker. I ain't forgot about you. But if you know the name of the TV show that involved the Clintons, it was a TV show. It was about them. Now, the Clinton names wasn't in it. I'll give you a free speaker.
Hunter Biden had invited one of these Burisma guys, the one who speaks English, Vadim Pozarski, and as well as Elena Baturina, who is an oligarch in Russia, Russia's richest woman, and her husband, who was the former Moscow mayor. So she was the former First Lady of Moscow, as well as some Kazakhstani's former Kazakhstani Prime Minister and so on. All these people paid millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars when it came to the Kazakhstanis to Hunter Biden and other Biden family members. And we know that Joe Biden said before the election in 2020 that he knew nothing about his son Hunter's overseas business dealings. The very first story that we published from the laptop on October 14, 2020, was about that meeting, that dinner I just told you about. We didn't know it was a dinner at that point at Cafe Milano between the Burisma executive paying Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. And Joe Biden's campaign denied it.
They're not gonna give up too much information about what's going on. I'm telling you, I'm keep bringing this story up just to let you know, because anything breaking different, yeah, I'm like, okay, he was really on it. That's why I keep bringing that story up every day. You know, sorry if y'all don't think it's creditable enough to be up on here. We're gonna always keep going through all these speculations, bro, especially about the Bidens. I'm finna bring up some more stories about Israel and what's going on.
We are breaking into programming to go to Israel, where the parliament has approved the first part of controversial judicial changes. It includes limiting the power of Supreme Court judges. This bill forms part of a wider package of changes that protesters have been out on the streets demonstrating against all year.
Something that's so controversial where you got the whole entire country. Now, we have not had a movement where the whole entire country has moved since the Civil War, or maybe 9/11. Maybe 9/11. It was probably the last time the whole country came together and spoke out for the same cause. Israel, you got the whole country that's not liking, and this is signs of what we don't want over here in America. That's why I'm playing stuff like this, to show people who watch this show, these are things we don't want to come over here. We don't want it to where the government makes so much power or takes power from certain legislators to where we can get our vote through. No.
Critics say the bill is a threat to democracy.
So, yeah, that's in Israel. Today, the far-right Israeli government voted to limit the power of the country's Supreme Court. We'll get into why and what that means later, but there have been massive protests throughout the country over this. Critics are saying that the move is a power grab by Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, who may be hoping to force through far-right wing laws, but also there's selfishness there too, because he might be trying to shield himself from that very court. We're going to talk about that policy in a little bit, but let's take a look, Cenk, at some of these protests and how massive they are in a country as small as Israel.
You can hear the anger anger on the streets. The vote in the Israeli parliament just taking place. Protesters not able to get near the parliament because of the police, but protesters spilling right down the road. Earlier, angry crowds massing near the Israeli parliament. Police carrying away protesters and firing water cannon to disperse crowds overnight. This weekend, former Israeli security chiefs signing a letter backing a threat from thousands of army reservists saying they'll no longer serve when the reforms go through. And before today's crucial vote, President Biden wading in, releasing a statement calling on Israeli leaders to seek consensus and not rush their, quote, divisive judicial reforms. Protesters descending on Jerusalem from all over the country, many marching for days, some camping outside the parliament, saying today's vote is wrecking Israeli democracy.
I mean, two unbelievably unprecedented facts in that report.
You see, we had to put our 2 cents in it. Y'all see, we had to put our 2 cents in it. It's crazy.
One is that army reservists are threatening not to serve. The Israeli army, as we know, it's mandatory for Israeli citizens to serve, and the notion that they would step away from that, which is a source of real national pride, a little different in each country, but in Israel, certainly national pride. That is surprising, Cenk. Also, the fact that a U.S. president is admonishing Israel and Netanyahu in the way that he did. Let's take a look at why these people are protesting, why there's such grave concern about these laws. Israel, the country, doesn't have a formal constitution, so the nation's high court uses the subjective legal standard of, quote, reasonableness to assess whether a law should stand. The Netanyahu government's judicial overhaul would restrict the Supreme Court's use of reasonableness in striking down laws, appointments, and other actions. So, just to talk about that for 1 second. So when legislation comes over, there is this level of reasonableness. And if the court had thought that it was unreasonable of the legislature in an extreme way to legislate in the way they did, the court could step in. Well, now they can't. At least that's what.
But the people can't even. The people who make that country up cannot speak up for their right. Now, this is yet again their democracy, their dictatorship. They live in, I think, a dictatorship country. They got one ruler, you know what I'm saying, with different court supremes. That's not cool. Yet again, this is why we have one of the freest countries able to vote, able to choose who you want running the country every 4 to 8 years. You should have that choice. You should have that freedom of speech. People should be able to run who you may not agree with. And if they're able to run and keep up and do good, okay. If they're not, then maybe they try again next 4 to 8 years. I did a story about one candidate that's running for Republican, and I don't know if y'all remember, he was running, and he went on to the Breakfast Crew show, and they was upset at him because he never had no leadership roles that satisfied them. You know what I'm saying? And that's understandable. Everybody's not going to agree with everybody, you know what I'm saying? And that's how it mainly should be. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. What I was wrong with is I felt like they was up there trying to bash and fine, which I guess I got upset because it was a Republican person. Like, man, let the man speak. He was actually doing a good job. Why is y'all trying to ram this one specific thing down his throat where y'all were trying to find some credibility that he did so y'all can run that credibility in the dirt, if that makes sense. And that's where I kind of got mad and upset. But I was like, oh, well, you know what I'm saying? He's still doing a good job. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. In other news, you still got to run to this DeSantis in Florida, still doing his thing, still running. getting ridiculed for taking out racial black things out of books is what I'm been hearing.
People reaped benefits from skills acquired during centuries of forced labor. Reaped benefits. The move comes just months after DeSantis criticized an advanced placement course on African American studies.
Okay. Saying that blacks benefited from becoming a slave. Think about this, y'all. Take a second, hold on, wait a minute, pump your brakes, time out. Think about this. If we didn't get captured or whatever it took and brought over here to America and was slave and white folks didn't like what they seen and black folks didn't like it either and we fought for our freedom, yes, we benefited from becoming a slave here in America. I'd rather been a slave here in America going through what I went through than any other country because look at the outcome. Look how my black ass is up here to talk about politics and slander Joe Biden saying he's one of the worst presidents without somebody kicking in my door and going to jail. Does that make sense? I'm reaping the benefits from my slave ancestors. Every black person out here doing whatever they want to do is reaping the benefits from my ancestors' slavery. Yes. If that doesn't make fucking sense to anybody, then I'm so sorry. Then I would break it down. I would show you the rap videos of every black person in the rap game who's made it, who's made millions of dollars. Let's look at LeBron James. Let's look at Jay-Z. Let's look at Barack Obama. Let's look at Ken Griffey Jr. Let's look at Stephen A. Smith. Shall I keep going? Michelle Obama. All these black people have made it successfully off of black people's ancestry, slaves, or whatever you want to call it. We all are reaping the benefits. I'm up here. I'm chilling. No, sipping on my juices. Wait. Wait a minute, y'all. Wait a minute. Let me reap the benefits of being black from slaves who once were slave owners. Hold on. What up? Benefits. Able to say publicly that I'm smoking weed chilling. Come on, dog. Am I supposed to be scared that the white man's gonna come kick in my door and say, oh my God, you can't be doing that, you're black. You're reaping benefits from slaves, you can't be doing that. Yes, we reap the benefits from slavery. I knew it was something I had to come on here and talk about.
The changes are now facing significant backlash. Vice President Kamala Harris visited Jacksonville on Friday and slammed the new curriculum, calling it extremist propaganda.
Yo. Let me peep something I just peeped out that somebody just told me that shocked my mind. That I bet you didn't pay attention to. Everybody that was a president or vice president has some descendant, some ancestry that has some type of slave. Let me say this again. Every president and vice president, except for one. Okay, except for one. But every president had an ancestor, a great somebody that had slaves. Every one of them, except for one, except for Trump. So that means this lady that we're looking up here on this page right now, we're looking at Kamala Harris strikes back, but her ancestors had slaves, eh? Had slaves, mate. Her ancestor rode around with niggas on the field picking cotton, mate. But she said that she's not reaping the benefits for becoming a slave. Y'all see my read the facial expressions. Where my close up? Where my close up? Where my close up? Do I even get a close up? Look at this. Look at this. This how the one eye started when they was talking about I was trying to preach to underage kid. Like, stop playing with me. This is another red eye moment right here. I think we're about to almost switch up the hashtag red eye. We're about to. Yes, we are. We're about to. Because this right here, let me go back to it. This right here, nah. I can't ride with this. Knowing, and everybody can say this. Everybody can say this. Every last one of the presidency and vice president has some ancestor that has slavery in their family. So what is this? What is this nigga? Any different? Yeah, I said it. Is this nigga any different? I think fucking not. Sorry for cussing. I'm sorry for cussing, but I don't think this person's any different.
Propaganda. This prompted DeSantis to defend his state while also denying any personal responsibility for the new education standards. Take a listen.
Well, you should talk to them about it. I mean, I didn't do it and I wasn't involved in it. But I think what they're doing is I think that they're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life. But the reality is all of that is rooted in whatever is factual. They listed everything out. And if you have any questions about it, just ask the Department of Education. You can talk about those folks. But I mean, these were scholars who put that together. It was not anything that was done politically.
Sure. Some Republican presidential candidates are also speaking out against the Florida Board of Education's new guidelines. Former Congressman Will Hurd wrote on Twitter this: unfortunately, it has to be said, slavery wasn't a jobs program that taught beneficial skills. It was literally dehumanizing and subjugated people as property.
You niggas still do the same things. We still are subjugated from slave mentality. That's why black people, that's why they want to get paid off. They say, like, man, we still doing slave. I still won't. Oh my God, it just hit me. I still won't split a pole. Black people still won't split poles. But you know who will split poles now? These new millenniums. Because they don't care. They don't even love America. We're looking at people, at scholars who their parents, like my parents, still brush this or painted this picture of the white man keeping us down. And the white man ain't even none of the richest people on this planet. Now, I'm not knocking nobody's history. I'm not knocking what nobody went through. What I am knocking over is to say that we didn't learn nothing from slavery. We didn't gain nothing from slavery. Yes, we did. That simple, small ass little phrase.
Because
it's
they
real
lacked
simple.
any rights or freedoms. Here's what Chris Christie had to say too.
I didn't do it and I'm not involved in it are not the words of leadership. Look, Governor DeSantis started this fire with the bill that he signed. And now he doesn't want to take responsibility for whatever is done in the aftermath of it. And from listening and watching his comments, he's obviously uncomfortable. He only started to focus on this when he decided he wanted to run for president and try to get to the right of Donald Trump. And so I think people see this as politically manipulative. And I'm talking about, Margaret, we're dividing our country into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces.
Yeah.
And politicians are pitting them against each other to create conflict. And that's not going to make the country bigger, better, stronger, or...
No, it's not. This is one conversation right here where I can almost honestly say that this right here has nothing to do with white folks. This ain't got nothing to do with white folks. This is like in the hood. This got to do with black on black. Blacks got to admit that, hey, did your ancestors get anything out of slavery? Ain't you free now? Weren't you born in the 80s and the 70s and the 40s, and wasn't you able to progress, to work, to even make me? I mean, I'm here. Come on, man. Remember, I'm a white nationalist. Let they tell you. Let the definition out there. Let's look up the definition. So I look at this and I'm like, so shit, hell. Don't forget, y'all. 3,300 or 33,000 people, black slaves, once they got free over in America, still owned slaves once they was free. They found some type of slave to go grab and snatch up. Don't forget that. Don't forget some slaves that were free still didn't leave the plantation. And y'all gonna be like, oh, that was the Jim Crow law. They was brainwashed. So you're trying to tell me, come down the rabbit hole with me. Come down the rabbit hole with me. It's 1,000 people on the plantation. You trying to tell me 700 people leave and 300 people stay? That which one of them? Who was brainwashed? The 300 that stayed or the 300 that left? Because they're trying to tell us, no matter if they left or if they stayed, they were brainwashed. That's what they're trying to say. That's what they're trying to get to. And I was like, oh, Santa started this stuff by getting slavery stuff out of schools. No. That is not where this started at. This started because they was putting sex in these books in schools. That's where it started from.
So, Eugene, let's just start with how inaccurate and offensive some of this teaching is from the Florida new curriculum there, but also how Governor DeSantis and his anti-woke policies have put him in a...
No, ladies and gentlemen. What in the Jerry Carroll dried up juice? Where they find this nigga? See, this is what y'all don't do. This is what I do. I'm not scared to do this. Where in the devil rip strip did they find this nigga at right here? Huh? Come on, man. Y'all try to say this is a nigga? Y'all try to say this is my nigga? Y'all try to say this is my nigga? Huh? That's what y'all try to say. Y'all trying to say this black man right here before we even get to hear him speak. We just got to talk about DeSantis and slavery and all this stuff, and they finna bring this black scholar. For real? So this is my nigga.
There, but also how Governor DeSantis and his anti-woke policies have put him in a box with speaking to a seemingly smaller and smaller portion of the electorate.
This is what happens when you base your entire kind of political career on this. When you say...
Did y'all Did y'all just hear him speak?
That everybody needs to be anti-woke. This is where you end up. And when you talk to folks in Florida, the whole point of the bill that came through, this is in reaction to a bill that he wanted. It was making.
I mean, I ain't want him to have that ugly face up there for one. But yet again, we heard how he talked. Where his daddy? I mean, did he sound like a man? What I mean, do he really sound like a man? Straight up, flat out, flat out, flat out. When you stunned with, I mean, oh my God, I was so offended because what he said, because what he's talking, I am offended.
What he wanted to folks. And it's because he felt, and a lot of people around this country are starting to feel, that we can't teach the correct history of this country because it makes white kids uncomfortable. That is.
Who says that? Only people that swings that narrative are Democrats. Nobody in the hood says, well, okay, niggas say that because they feel like they don't get teach the right. But yet again, you act like you ain't got roots. You act like you still ain't got them books. Yeah, black folks act like they ain't got black pictures all up around their room, like we can't teach it. Some of that stuff you don't want to teach in school because kids, hear me out. Kids are so doped up on pills and so emotionally structured. No, you don't want to teach some slavery stuff in schools. That's why you don't want to teach in school. Kids are shooting up schools a lot more now than they was back then when I was going to school. So no, you might not want to teach some things that are harmful and hurtful to a community that happened so long ago that people might start feeling some type of way now. Yeah, I said it. No, that's why you want to be a little bit sensitive. Like, you know what? Let's get all this hanging from trees up out of here because, you know, they're shooting up schools. They're emotional. Yes. I'm for freaking with it because listen to this.
At the base of this, right? That it is uncomfortable to hear that people that look like you put people that look like me in chains and make them do things and beat them and rape them. That is uncomfortable for kids to hear. That is what these folks are saying. But then when you use that as a political cudgel, you have to own it, right? At this point, this is on Ron DeSantis. He may not have created these policies with the school board, but at the end of the day, he made it very clear
he ain't put enough Jerry juice up in them curls. When you go on TV, national TV, and you got some curls and you got the juices, you got curls, you gotta put some juice up in that shit. Okay? I just don't believe I think he's Samoan gay, and it was like, I just need you talking the most feminine, and we're gonna curl your hair up, we're gonna throw it out, cause I bet you that stuff was. I'm just keeping it real. Black power.
What he wanted to the folks in that state.
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think you have to put it in the context that there's been an effort to sort of desanitize American history, specifically American colonial history. And this was done in that context. The actual curriculum, if you read it, it's just one line, right? It's just one line, does use the word benefit. And that obviously is problematic. And what's striking to me.
Okay, true indeed. Now, let's get back into politics. I'm sorry. Let's get back into politics. When you do in politics, every word does count. Everybody does eat up at your words. And to get at something this controversial, and what DeSantis is doing and has said, let me repeat myself and let me clear some things up. DeSantis is really staring away from this because he has never involved himself into this part of the debate. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, left or right, whatever side that you're on, his mindset was to get sex books out of schools, okay? If you go read any of his bills, it's nothing to do with slavery. They just want to throw this out there to make him look bad. And they're doing a good job. Like, let's keep it real. They're doing a good job. But the whole point was DeSantis' whole point, his old agenda was to get sex books out of schools from middle school, well, from elementary to high school.
Beyond just that it got to this point to begin with, which is crazy, is that there's not someone in that orbit, in his universe, who has the maturity and the capacity to say, this wording is problematic. Maybe we can go back and revise it. We recognize that we've sort of lit a fire. Let's try to revamp it. Because that would be sort of a rational human thing to do, is like, look, we didn't mean to offend anyone. Let us, scrub it and replace it with something else. But in a political context, you can never admit that you've made a misstep. And more importantly, I think for DeSantis, he doesn't want to back down from.
But see, that's the whole point. Yeah. You either use it as a political upbring or downbring. And only people that most people are trying to sway are a lot of independent. And okay, for everybody out there in America that's independent, I'm just independent. What was the last thing y'all voted? What was the last way y'all voted? And if you don't vote, then yeah, okay, pack your bags and get up out the country. Because you don't count. Do you understand what technically makes you grown here in America? People always want to say buying a pack of cigarettes, getting your driver's license, getting a job, having a baby. No, all those things technically does not solidify that you're grown. In America, what solidify you grown is going to register to vote, going to sign up for the service, actually putting your name up for the draft if the draft is still around. But that used to solidify you as an adult. I used to couldn't wait because I knew that. I used to hear my friends say, oh man, I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to do that. But I knew what solidified you as an actual fucking adult to where couldn't nobody tell you.
Something that goes with his brand, which is we are going to push back against all these efforts to promote diversity and inclusion, and we want to sanitize our history.
And it also is,
he never said sanitize. Listen, like, okay, let's break down the word to you. Sanitize. He never said clean, reconstruct. Nothing, bro. Bro, I'm just keeping it real with y'all, my people. I ain't gonna get too deep because I know y'all be like, man, you getting too deep because you. Nah, man. I'm just letting y'all know, man. Let's hear it from the. Nah. I want it fresh. But it looked like everybody's taking a shot at DeSantis. Did he actually go
that
say
has
that?
been ordered by civilian officials to pursue political ideology, to pursue social experimentation, to be yet another institution in American life that gets infected with the woke mind virus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ron DeSantis put me to sleep. I'm Fred Wellman with the Midas Touch Network, and well, that snore fest was Ron DeSantis' brand new military policy speech that he gave in South Carolina. Of course, the same day that it came out that Trump going to be a target of the January 6th grand jury. So it kind of got overwhelmed. But I wanted to come back now that I'm awake and really go into what DeSantis announced
By the
as
time you
his
come back, I'll
defense
be
policy,
done.
his military policy, and the exciting things going on with this campaign and how they relate. Luckily, there was a lot of coverage of it in our media. Jake Tapper did an interview with him right afterwards. But let's see the summary, the rest of that clip, summary from Jake Tapper at CNN.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for this exclusive interview. This was just minutes after he had unveiled a sweeping new military policy. DeSantis said in that announcement speech that his proposals are intended to, quote, rip the woke out of the U.S. military.
It's a military that has been ordered by civilian officials to pursue political ideology, to pursue social experimentation, to be yet another institution in American life that gets infected with the woke mind virus.
Y'all know PMB. I don't know if y'all subscribe to that channel, but if y'all do watch this channel, y'all do watch this show, I highly appreciate it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you can get the notifications. Please help out this channel if you like the button. It's up to you. But back to the point. PMB podcast, I did it, the special report that he did on here about the military and how we're one of the weakest militaries to be known out there when it comes to numbers and papers that we signed for. You know, I did that 2 days in a row because it really ticked me off. And you hearing him talk about the military and bringing in the woke ideology into it, I am definitely with him and don't want the woke. Don't want people in there who's not really for them colors that you see behind him on that podium. Which, yeah, I'm about to go find me a red, white, and blue flag or something to put up around here. I know my thing is colorful and all this stuff, but I'm really starting to miss that patriotic part of me. You know what I'm saying? I'm starting to miss. So that first and foremost, I do want in my military. I want them type of people that bleed red, white, and blue. And if you don't want them type of people in your military, then I'm sorry, you not understanding what the military is made for. Just keeping it real.
So the DeSantis plan includes ending all groups and positions in the Pentagon that focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, banning transgender service members from serving as they identify.
$15 million on that second one. $15 million we spent on transgender sex change in the military. Think about that. $15 million. A lot of people starving. We lowered the standards for women so we can add more women to the military. Just putting it out there. Putting it out there. These are facts.
Ending funding for what DeSantis calls, quote, activist climate change programs, unquote. DeSantis also wants to reinstate all service members who were removed for refusing the COVID vaccine, and he wants to punish any retired generals and admirals who speak out harshly against the sitting president or Congress or other officials. DeSantis says the things he wants to eliminate are harming the readiness of the U.S. military.
This is changing the character of the military. It's changing the culture of our services, and it's creating a situation in which great warriors have been driven away, and recruiting is at an all-time low post-abolition of the draft and the Vietnam conflict.
Yet again, that just really solidified what I just said. You want people in the military who are trying to fight for our freedom, who fight not just for your freedom while you sleeping, who fights for the red, white, and blue. Stuff like that is so deep and so embedded into my mind when I think about the military and what they stand for. Okay? I used to make fun and joke of the military and stuff like that. Now I understand why I was making fun and making jokes, because at the time they was actually weakening our military. And I have one confirmation of asking a person who came out of the military, is that true? Is that actually going down? And he was like, yes, that's true. That's factual. That actually did. Secondly, I've been waiting to ask two other people who I have not had a chance to get in touch with. I can't wait to get in touch with them. But to get back to the main point is our military is weak. We do need to find a way to make it strong. If you don't agree, I'm sorry. If you don't believe me, I will bring up the report, come message me. I will send you the story that I did about it personally on it, and that you can see that yourself. Okay? Because it's totally real. Now you finna hear some people that disagree. I don't even know what we actually watching. I got a little thrown off with we watching somebody's podcast, but this is actually important.
It is true that recruitment is at a low, but we should note Pentagon officials repeatedly reject almost all of those accusations.
Also, hold on. One more thing. The number of recruits that the military, that the Army, Navy, and I think Air Force was supposed to recruit, they didn't make it by a lot, by a couple thousand. Okay, they didn't even make their recruit. So yes, for sure.
Accusations.
Woke. We'll start with the ridiculous shit in his policy list. Eliminate diversity initiatives. Okay. That means all the positions talk about race relations, anti-racism, which is a problem in the military, which we'll hear in a minute. He wants to ban any transgender members from serving in the sex as they identify. In other words, he's going to force transgender service members, volunteers to serve in the military, to use their birth gender. He's going to stop funding programs.
Okay. Do anybody see anything problem with any of these? Do you want somebody in the military that's more tripping on what pronouns to be called, or ready to fight for our war? Let's go back. Like, come on, bro.
Relations, anti-racism, which is a problem in the military, which we'll hear in a minute. He wants to ban any transgender members from serving in the sex as they identify. In other words, he's going to force transgender service members, volunteers to serve in the military, to use their birth gender. He's going to stop funding programs designed to fight climate change. Folks, we have naval bases that are going to be underwater in 10 to 20 years. We have Air Force bases that are going to be underwater in 10, 20 years. We have military bases that have been wiped out by hurricanes. We're missing a base in Florida, his home state, because it got wiped out by a hurricane years ago and we never rebuilt it. Climate change is real, and it's really going to affect the military.
Okay. I feel like I'm going to lose my audience watching him. Climate change is nothing but what the word is. Climate is going to change. You cannot predict climate change. There's nothing you can do about climate change. There's no sense of putting money into climate change unless you're like saying every time the climate change, this is money to back up to rebuild what the climate destroyed. That's what climate change needs to be. Climate change needs to be an insurance policy for things that get fucked up during hurricanes and tornadoes and tsunamis and tree falling on top of cars. That's what that should be called and named for. That's climate change. That's climate changing. It was a nice summer day to it was a messed up storm to a tree fell and hit my car. Climate change. How hard, how deep do you want to go when people talk about stuff like that, climate change, and you hear the richest people say that is the biggest scam of it all. That's the biggest scam. You hear billionaires calling it a scam. No, you don't hear Tesla, Elon Musk, because he's getting paid off of it. So no, I wouldn't call it a scam. I'm doing something about it. Teslas don't run good in the wintertime. So people in Alaska is not buying Teslas for real because they're not running that well. If it's too cold, your Tesla car is not going to run. But, that ain't got nothing to do with climate change. Climate change is climate change. There'll be summer days in Florida, then next thing you know, here come a hurricane. The climate changed.
Who's located in places where it has impact. But hey, we don't want to get politics in the way of that. Reinstate personnel who are kicked out because of the COVID virus. He keeps calling these warriors who are kicked out. Warriors don't disobey direct verbal orders. When you're a military member, you get 17 shots when you start your service. But these people refuse the COVID vaccine. He wants to bring those insubordinate people back.
Yes, bring them people back. Those were people who had already served in the military, 10, 20 years served in the military, had did their times, had lost their job. See, y'all, we watching somebody like this that's selfish. I don't know if y'all understand it, y'all get it, y'all dig it, y'all like it, y'all for it. But your boy right here is selfish.
What really shocked me was the idea of punishing retired generals and admirals who speak out against a sitting president. So he's going to quash the free speech of private citizens who are retired much. So since we're retired from the military, we can't speak ill anymore of the president. That's quite a mold. But there was more that Jake doesn't mention. There was also no longer allowing the fly of any flag other than the American flag. So no more LGBTQ flags or.
Oh my God, bro. Yes. I'm gonna break it down his show too. But bro, what did you not say? We're talking about the military. Why is we showing other flags in the military? Do y'all remember flags used to mean signals other than just American countries? You wave them a certain way. You can wave ways and you can signal. But bro, I'm trying not to stop him cussing so bad. Because this dude is really touches it it makes common sense. Certain things you want traditional. There's not one country out there that's going out their way to be untraditional. They even countries that's leaning into the LBG, but they still being traditional.
In his rule, POW flags probably, among other things. It's just absolutely ridiculous what he's trying to do. You should. What's interesting though.
Yeah, I know the LGBTQ flag represents predators, right? Okay, I just thought y'all didn't know that. I thought somebody told me that they didn't know that represents predator. I just wanted you to know that that's what that it is.
Is the entire conversation they end up having. He keeps attacking recruiting. And I was really proud of Jake Tapper because he kind of opened with, "Are you sure?" kind of a question. And I want you to watch this clip of Jake going through some numbers. It's a little bit of a longer clip, but watch DeSantis' face as Jake brings receipts. And I want you to listen very carefully about what the Army says from a survey of soldiers is the number one issue why service members are struggling with enlisting or re-enlisting, and where woke policies falls on that. It's an interesting clip.
Let's talk about this sweeping new military policy you proposed that, in your words, will rip the woke out of the military. The Pentagon response is that Army and Marines readiness is the best it's been in years, and reenlistment in the Army is the best it's been in years. So their argument might be in response, what problem are you trying to solve?
Well, why do we have the worst recruiting that we've had since the Vietnam conflict? Why have great warriors being
Hit him with a comeback right there, right? They saying this, he's saying, so why is our recruiting low?
driven off, such as with the COVID-19 shot mandates? These were people that had been performing admirably. A lot of them had COVID. They had natural immunity. They were told, take this shot or leave. So I think you've had a big problem with morale. You clearly have a problem with recruiting. And at this levels, everybody has acknowledged these recruiting levels are at a crisis. Why is that the case? I think it's because people see the military losing its way, not focusing on the mission and focusing on a lot of these other things, which, man, we see that in other aspects of society as well. People want to join the military, I think, because they think it's something different. And I think some of the civilian leaders in the military are trying to have the military mimic corporate America academia. That's ultimately not going to work.
So I hear you. Recruitment, without question, is a problem. The Army did this survey. I'll give you a copy of it if you want. They haven't released it, but I got my hands on a copy. And it surveyed people, I think 16 to 28 barriers to service, and beyond the ones such as don't want to die, don't want to be injured, don't want to be away from my family. The biggest issues were the number 2 issue, women and racial or ethnic minorities are discriminated against in the Army. Wokeness is listed here, but it's only number 9. So that would suggest that wokeness is not as big.
Well, but I think there's an issue about, like, not everyone really knows what wokeness is. I mean, I've defined it, but a lot of people who rail against wokeness can't even define it. And so I think it's a sense of, this is not something that's holding true to the core martial values that make the military unique. And I can tell you, the veterans, you don't have to look far and wide. Go to a VFW hall, go to an American Legion. There's huge amount of concern about the direction that the military is going with.
There's a lot in that clip. Let's start with, he keeps saying recruiting is the worst it's been since the end of the Vietnam War. Okay, so let's think about that real quick. Recruiting is the worst it's been since the end of the Vietnam War. Hey, what happened since the end of the Vietnam War? What was it? I've been busy. We had a 20-year war with an all-volunteer force. Multi-generational war like mine. I invaded Iraq on day 1. My son-in-law was on day -2 coming out of Iraq. Maybe we're having recruiting problems because the longest war in U.S. history occurred between now and Vietnam. But don't worry. Then we notice the barriers to entry for 16 to 29-year-olds, other than getting blown up away from your family. The number 2 thing cited by American 16 to 29-year-olds about joining the service was the fact that women and racial minorities are discriminated against. Remember, his number 1 policy plan is to get rid of any DEI programs. In other words, programs that help alleviate the worries
Something wrong with my dog.
Of discrimination amongst women and minorities. That's his number 1 priority to get rid of. So the number 2 reason there's a barrier to entry, he wants to get rid of. The solution to that goes all the way down to number 9, wokeness. And then he has the absolute balls to say that people just don't know what woke is. Like, if they knew what woke was, that woke would be higher. It's just fucking ridiculous. I mean, the guy.
Hey. If minority was getting, which that's what they say. It's a lot of minorities join the military. It's more minorities join the military nowadays than it is whites and blacks. Yes, that is true. Minorities is taking over the military. But also transgenders are taking over the military. We're going to slap some polished nails and fingertips and get people's hair done during the war instead of fighting somebody. Okay. All right, that's what y'all want. Y'all ain't gonna hear, I'm not gonna hold y'all. I ain't gonna get y'all all razzled dazzled up with this person either. That's not my job. Y'all have a good time. Y'all have a good night. God bless y'all until next time. Peace.